CA NetMaster automation. It has TCP/IP SMA as well. 7 years. Tracing, smart trace, being able to look at packet traces, looking at SSH handshakes for the key certificates, as well as looking at protocols that are transferring over the wire before it leaves the mainframe. Fast getting work done over to banks. It's important to understand what the communication protocols are and get them fixed. There's a lot of banks that had to be converted from FTP to SFTP, and there were all sorts of things that were issues while doing the conversion. So using the trace function was able to help alleviate certificate key problems very quickly. Well, there's so many different functions that it has. I didn't think the SNMP function was easy to set up, and that caused some problems with the address space. It didn't bring it down, but there were issues with just getting the functionality to work, along with getting the correct ACF2 resource access permission set up. That was difficult, it was workable, but took considerable more time to do than I thought. Stability-wise, the whole product runs great, especially with the automation. That's where it really shines, with being able to scale it no matter how many resources you add to it, that the resources are definitely all managed and controlled in a great way. I thought one of the weaknesses was the way that the ISR functionality between multiple LPARs and being able to have a control point in just one. And doing that link, it's a one-off product. You have to understand how ISR links work, and so it's nothing like you've ever used before. So scalability, yeah, it has it, but it's something that you're never going to be able to transfer that technology on how you set it up and configure it to any other product. So it's scalable, but not the best way that it could have been implemented. There were 3 people that were on the line that you could get response from when opening tickets. All 3 do a great job. All 3 were prior users of the product. But when it came to after hours, it seemed that the only people that really were accessible were the US team. Over in China, there wasn't really or third shift for US. Didn't really have anybody. There was somebody over on UK. So if it was early morning hours, it was okay, but there's a little bit of a hole in the support side, actually from second shift with the global following it over in the Asia Pacific timeframe. There's 3 different FMIDs for the main product, and then for automation, TCP and SNA. And then there's more than that, so there's more FMIDs. The individual setups were much easier done with Chorus. When it was done before Chorus, it was much more difficult, but there's a lot amount of VSAM that have to be set up, and the sizing of it became a bit of a problem for the IP log, with being able to capture the IP data that you want. So there's a lot of variables that had to be considered. Not one of the easier configurations that I actually had to do. You needed a lot of post-customization after the product was running, collecting data in order to get really a good working solution. Things in the manual didn't cover a lot of things that really needed for sizing efforts. I think what was really mentioned here was NetMaster's getting tied in with the whole new infrastructure with the analytics. And that would be great to get that over to Z-Linux to see if there's the tools that could do with understanding how the network is working, and if it could be shifted off. For instance, I'd like to be able to see week in, week out what's happening with SFTP traffic. And so there's a few metrics that could be followed, and you could actually see it real time with some threshold monitoring with the new product feature that they had with the metrics that were being put into the analytical phase. NetView cost too much money. There was only really serious consideration among 2 products, and the cost of NetView was more than could be stomached. For me, it's the automation component. I want to see what the support team, and that's the post-sales, and in this case it was actually a pre-sales person that was actually the most knowledgeable on how to do automation functionality, and specifically with NCLs, how to create and get the NCLs to work so that the NCL could do automated control of the network. And that was really important for us to be able to operate an SNA structure so that if there was an SNA failure, that you would have the automation be able to recover that node in time, because there was a lot of processing going on with banks, specifically with KICS having some sockets as well as WebSphere. So having a person that knew the NCL capability was really important for me to have. 8.5.